If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
If he dropped out, he's not going to win. And not looking too good for Cuomo either. But maybe, I don't know, if he dropped out, maybe Cuomo would have a little bit of a chance, but not much. Because it looks like the lead it's not a great lead, but it's big enough that he should be able to win. So, I don't know that I want to get involved. It's really a question of, would I rather have a Democrat or a communist? And I would rather have a Democrat than a communist.
Will you meet with Mamdani?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Wednesday Rush Hour. I am Bo Snerdley, James Golden. Welcome aboard. The fastest hour in American media. You've heard the quote from Donald Trump. Big story today. Also big story. Curtis Sliwa had a announcement of what he's not doing with his future again, where he will never be again. And, of course, look, I've never called on Curtis Sliwa to drop out of the race. I've never said anything because, frankly, who cares what I say about that? Curtis wouldn't listen to me if I said, hey, Curtis, you need to drop out of the race. And I'm not just going to say it to give myself virtue points. Ooh, he said Curtis. Look, there's a way that Curtis Sliwa could win. There's a way Curtis Sliwa could win the mayoral race. I'll explain right now. He stands at 15% in the polls. If somehow over the next 2 weeks, he wins 35.6 more percent of the vote, at least according to the polls, if he's able to convince Democrats, because New York City, Democrat city, and if 35.6% of voters, mostly Democrats, change their mind from who they already said they're going to vote for, if they say, you know what, he's offered me something that Andrew Cuomo, who's also trailing in the polls, isn't going to give, or Mamdani, if he can come up with that magic solution to offer something that 35.6% of mostly Democrats want, well, he can win. Now, what are the chances? It would be the biggest upset in American political history. But is it impossible to change what we perceive as the will of the voters this close to election by such a huge margin? It is impossible. Is it? I don't know what's impossible. Is it improbable? Highly improbable. Based on everything that we know about politics. So, that's my comment. Now, Mamdani in New York, I asked Carlos if he was going to watch the debate tonight. He's going to watch it. But I don't think his heart is in watching the debate. I just don't. I think maybe, I don't know, if there were a Bad Bunny show special somewhere on an adjacent channel, he might flip over and watch Bad Bunny. Or Big Bunny, or it is bad. It's not big. No, it's big. It's not big. Anyway, Wall Street Journal. Mamdani's promising a cheaper New York. Can he afford to pay for it? Mamdani said he wants to generate $9 billion in new tax revenue by raising taxes on New York City's wealthiest residents and businesses. He's calling for a 2% tax, not a 1% like we were all. 2% tax on incomes of over $1 million, which he says will produce $4 billion in tax revenue. He wants to increase the state's corporate tax rate to 11.5%. He says that's going to pick up another $5 billion. Right. See, I guess he thinks corporations don't hire accountants and tax people. They can go through there and tell them how to do this, do that, do the other, to not pay what people like him want them to pay. Or, at some point, some businesses just say, you know what? And they're doing this in California, Kate. Some businesses are already saying, you know what? This is not trending well. Let's get out now and relocate and go to somewhere where it's a little bit more friendly. But he thinks that's just going to happen. Now, he needs Kathy Hochul if he gets in and if he, if something doesn't happen, if he's the guy. He needs Kathy Hochul to sign and the state Democrats to sign off on these big, humongous tax increases. Hochul's up for re-election, Governor Kathy Hochul, in 2026. So, yeah, that'll be a great election slogan. I raised your taxes and I'm running again. That'd be a great message for her to go out with in 2026. I'm the tax raiser for Mamdani. Money for the commies. Anyway. And then, so all of it, he says he's going to raise $9 billion here. That's what he's going to do, $9 billion in new tax revenue. And how's he going to spend the money? Well, he's going to spend the money. $6 billion of it is going to go to take care of other people's children, child care. So that's what people. So in addition for the wealthy taking care of their own kids, now they're supposed to take care of everyone else's children. Supposedly. That's what they just want to do. Chalk up billions more to take care of other people's kids, because why? Mamdani wants them to do it. And then, no cost to the parents, no cost daycare. By the way, can you imagine the lawsuits in the future over what's going to happen with this big bureaucratic daycare? Can't wait. If you're a New Yorker, you should be very pleased to just know that lawyers are probably salivating over what's going to happen in the future. Then he's going to spend close to another bill of that, giving everybody free bus rides. They tried that already in a pilot program. He says it's going to make it faster. In the pilot program, it made buses run slower. Then he's going to screw the landlords. He's going to pause rent increases for 4 years. If you have a rent stabilized, and you can, that's a whole other discussion, this crooked scheme to tell property owners how they can't deal with their own finances of owning a property. So he's going to screw the landlords by telling them they can't raise rents for 4 years. Because, of course, it's his property, not theirs. He's free to tell them, hey, screw you. We're just going to let people stay in your place and you're going to pay for it, but you can't charge them any increases, even if you have to do property repairs, capital repairs, even if you want it, whatever. It's your property, but we tell you how to run it because we're good commies. Good socialists, excuse me. So your property isn't your property. And he's going to freeze those rents. Now, Eric Adams could screw him up a little bit with that, because Eric Adams, right now, there are 6 board members under this rent guidelines board, and some of them are serving under expired terms. All Adams has to do to screw him up is appoint and get through a bunch more people before he leaves. And then, of course, come the free grocery stores that won't have to pay rent, won't have to pay property taxes, just drive the regular grocers in New York out of business by trying to undercut them. And those are just some of the things. Not to talk about the police, who he in 2020 called wicked and corrupt. And you all know this. And yes, I know, and you all know about the whole thing, his links to people that have been linked to terrorism and the rest of it. You know about his stance on some of the things that he said regarding Jewish matters and the intifada. You know all that stuff. So I'm not going to spend much time on it. It gets talked about a lot. New York is going to be an interesting test case if this guy gets in. And I mean, I know Republicans have a certain amount of glee with the prospect of having an open socialist/communist in office and saying what's going to happen to New York City if this happens. And the words train wreck come to mind, but there are other things happening in New York as it is before we move on to other national matters. Canal Street had a big ICE raid there. They got 9 people. But you know what happened? They had the resistant, protesters, young, openly hostile. ICE out now. Wah, 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 wah. We don't want them in our effing city. And as they tried to carry it on, hundreds of protesters. News reports said it looked like a war zone down in Canal Street. And who were they picking up? Well, again, press reports. They were picking up some of these street vendors from Africa, is what one news organization made the point of reporting. From Africa. Immigrant. Well, they're here illegally. And guess what they were selling? Luxury Confederate goods. And one news outlet, they've been a staple for years. As if somehow, because they have been illegally operating in the city for years, with nobody bothering them, here comes these awful ICE agents to disrupt their illegal street vendor stores selling illegal counterfeit goods. But ICE are the bad guys. And you have these protesters actually carrying on against ICE. It is stunning. Now, there is cut number 7. Todd Blunt, ICE, the acting ICE director, had a few words that might not comfort people in the New York area who are out protesting ICE. And this is what he said.
Well, I think for the people in New York, they're going to see ICE and our other federal partners do the law enforcement mission, right? This wasn't something just organically happened overnight. We decided to go hit Canal Street. With any criminal investigation, you have to build up intelligence. You have to work with sources. You have to go ahead and have the right evidence and work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. But you will see an increase in ICE arrests because there are so many criminally illegal aliens that have been released in New York specifically, and especially that are being harbored in, New York, from the lack of cooperation there in New York City. So you will see us making those criminal arrests to make New York safe again. But I will tell you that it's definitely intelligence-driven. It's not random. We're just not pulling people off the street. There was a specific reason based on criminal intelligence and criminal activity that we showed up on Canal Street.
Well, there's going to be more ICE. On Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. Keep it right here.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hop in the time machine. we take you back 1 year ago today. It was a time of hope. It was a time of joy. It was a time of robust joy all around the country because Joe Biden had gotten out of the race. And Kamala Harris was fueling her supporters, energizing her supporters with hope, with joy, exuberance over her chances to win, and she was attacking Donald Trump. In fact, a year ago today, she blamed Donald Trump on the current lawlessness of the United States of America's immigration stance. Here she is.
On this issue of immigration, he has been an obstacle to fixing this problem. My proposal includes strengthening what we must do to ensure that we have an orderly and humane immigration system and that we fix what has been broken for a long time. It has transcended administrations, and it needs to be fixed.
And there she is, after letting 11 million illegal immigrants crossed the border on her watch while she was border czar 1 year ago today. Kamala Harris blamed Donald Trump for the broken immigration system and said her plan, which I guess would let in 11 million, 12 million, 13, 20 million more illegal immigrants, her plan would make everything right. Sadly, all that joy didn't produce votes at the poll, and she never got a chance to fix America's immigration system. And, yeah, the most qualified candidate ever to run for president didn't make it. We're coming back. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. Let us turn to the other story that seems to be dominating. Yesterday was EBT Day. EBT was dominating social media yesterday. Over the past 2 days, this renovation. Carlos, do you ever watch HGTV? Okay. Have you seen like those two brothers from up in Canada that go in and buy the houses and flip it? Or that other guy and his girl that go out somewhere out there in the Southwest, that go ahead and buy these houses and flip these houses. And then also the vacation guy that goes around and looks at all these vacation properties. And okay, after they get to the property, after they decide, what's one of the first things they do?
Take it down?
Yeah, a demo. They do a demo job on what's there so that they can do what? So they can renovate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, have been losing their cookies over the fact that the White House is being renovated. Hillary Clinton had the nerve, the absolute gall, audacity, and nerve to say and to criticize, it's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. She then went on to say a Clinton would never defile the White House. This is after the Clintons sold access to the Lincoln bedroom. This is after the infamous renaming of the Oval Office to the Oral Office. Carlos, do you know why many people in the political world started referring to the Oval Office as the Oral Office?
Yeah, because Bill couldn't keep it in his pants.
And what was happening in the Oral Office?
Oral
he was getting a Lewinsky. in the Oval Office. It is also the same Bill Clinton that was accused by Kathleen Willey of raping her or doing something close, if not rape, to her in the Oval Office. So Hillary Clinton, a Clinton would never defile the White House. Really? You had Maria Shriver spoke up. Maria Shriver describes herself as being angry and upset over the cost of it. The taxpayers aren't paying for this. Caroline Leavitt was on with Jesse Waters. That's cut 5. And, I mean, these people, you should see, they're going the hysteria. They're all showing pictures of the Reno job in process. President Trump is destroying the White House. This is how democracy is dying. And all these insane comments. Caroline Leavitt on with Jesse Waters. This is what she had to say about it.
Are the Democrats jealous that Trump's building this big, beautiful ballroom?
It certainly appears that way, Jesse, and I believe there's a lot of fake outrage right now because nearly every single president who has lived in this beautiful White House behind me has made modernizations and renovations of their own. And in fact, presidents for decades in the modern time have quipped about how they wish they had a larger event space here at the White House that can hold hundreds more people than the current East Room and state dining rooms can. In fact, President Obama notably complained that during his tenure, he had to hold a state visit on the South Lawn and get a very expensive tent. If you talk to journalists who have covered the White House for decades, as I do here every single day, they will also tell you that administration after administration have publicly and privately spoken about the need for a larger event space. So while many presidents have privately dreamt about this, it's President Trump who is actually doing something about it. And he is the builder in chief. In large part, he was reelected back to this people's house because he's good at building things. He has done it his entire life, his entire career. And construction is a process at the end. The East Wing, which is an entirely separate structure from the executive mansion you see behind me, will be more modern and beautiful than ever. And then on top of that, the White House is going to have a big, beautiful ballroom for generations of Americans to come. And the best part of it all, it's not a dime of the taxpayers' money. The president has worked hard to privately fund this entire project from start to finish.
He is getting a lot of criticism, folks. Even Byron York, I like Byron York a lot, but conservative commentator Byron York says Trump needs to tell the public now what he's doing with the East Wing of the White House and then tell the public why he didn't tell them before he started doing it. You have the New York Times. Our hands are tied. Can anyone stop Trump's tear down of the East Wing? Everyone's so upset. The East Wing was put up in a renovation. For goodness sakes, folks. Really? And who is to say that when they do finish the renovation, it won't be restored so that no one will notice a difference? Or even if so, that it won't be better. Rebecca Miller, executive director of the D.C. Preservation League, a nonprofit, one where they get their money from, that advocates for protecting historic sites in Washington, said dozens of concerned citizens from the city and around the country have called and emailed her to express outraged. I am outraged. Well, I'm not outraged. I hope that they do. I hope they're doing a good documentary on this so we can watch this on HGTV too. I like some of those shows on HGTV. I don't watch them a lot because I don't have the time to watch them a lot. And then sometimes I watch them and I'm like, dag, I wonder how much that costs to do that. Because they'll tell you sometimes how much these renos cost, but other times, you get the feeling that these renos, whew. Anyway, I hope they're going to make a documentary series out of it so we can see the before and we can see the after. But liberals are whining. You know what they're also whining about? They're also whining about the story that Donald Trump is pressing the DOJ to refund some of the money it cost with their malicious persecution of him when he was out of office. CNN's Caitlin Collins asked him about that. Little Ebonic language for you there. Cut 3. Here's Caitlin Collins asking Trump about the DOJ.
Let's follow up on her question to you, because the New York Times is reporting that your legal team is seeking $230 million from your own Justice Department now in response to the investigations into you. Is that something you want your legal team to do?
I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even talk to them about it. All I know is that they would owe me a lot of money, but I'm not looking for money. I'd give it to charity or something. I would give it to charity, any money. But look, what they did, they rigged the election. And as you know, we had, in one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot of money, and they already paid. They paid me a lot of money because what they did was wrong. And, when somebody does what's wrong. Now, with the country, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the decision, right? And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where you have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages? But I was damaged very greatly. And any money that I would get, I would give to charity.
So that's that. So every day we make it a point to hear voices from the social media world. We have 2 for you today. We have one who's a lifelong Democrat in San Francisco. Trump is threatening to send the National Guard to San Francisco. Democrats highly upset. Gavin Newsom is beside himself every day. He's another one whining about. He has the nerve to whine about Trump and the renovations at the White House. When the Palisades, I just saw a story today. International buyers are now moving in to buy the burned out properties that are still sitting vacant in Malibu. Palisades, those horrible fires, those people still can't rebuild. And he's got the nerve to be whining about Trump, who actually gets things done. Anyway, so we got a guy from San Francisco, and we got an East Coast and a West Coast guy. We got a guy from San Francisco, and then we got a guy, it's an NBC Philadelphia report on a New Jersey guy who's a business owner in New Jersey and Passaic County about the governor's race there. So let's listen to our social media voices of the day, and let's listen to 2 voices, one a Democrat in San Francisco, the other, we're going to go to Philadelphia. First, that's 15 and 16. First, let's go to I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. I worked for President Obama. I've never voted for a Republican in my life. But I feel radicalized about what's happening on our streets. It's absolutely insane to see the street conditions in San Francisco, see what families and children and working professionals have to deal with every single day in our city. And it's because a couple of far-left Democrats have become radicalized and empowered themselves to take advantage of our compassion and our leniency to prioritize the rights of a couple people over the rights of the rest of the city. It is not compassionate in San Francisco to not hold people accountable for their actions. And that is exactly what is happening. That is the state of our homelessness and addiction policy in San Francisco and in California, and it has to change.
Originally from the Dominican Republic, Angel Castillo runs this restaurant now in a New Jersey county that's in the political spotlight. Castillo is now supporting the Republican nominee for governor, Jack Ciattarelli. But the larger story here is about President Trump. Castillo says he used to be a Democrat, and then in 2016...
I voted for Trump.
Okay.
That's the first time I ever voted for a Republican. So the way he spoke, I was like, man, this guy speaks just like everybody else. And the way he said he was going to do things, and I agree with him in most of the things.
Are you happy with how things are going so far in his administration?
Correct.
You are?
Yeah.
What do you like?
Well, I like everything. I like how he's just trying to enforce the law.
Despite Castillo's vote, Hillary Clinton won Passaic in 2016, Joe Biden won in 2020, and Donald Trump flipped it in 2024.
Now, we had the 2 voices. We got to take a break pretty soon, but I want to get one other voice, and that from an elected politician. Brandon Johnson, Chicago, has a new plan ladies and gentlemen, on how to raise money for his city. They cut 13. Carlos, this is what Brandon Johnson wants to do.
Just like we tax other addictive vices that are bad for our health, like nicotine and tobacco, it is far past time we treat social media companies the same way.
Under his proposal, social media companies would pay 50 cents for every active user each month. The first 100,000 users are exempt. The Johnson administration says it would raise $31 million, money they would use to fund expanded crisis response and city-run mental health clinics. It's a tax no other U.S. city has implemented.
You've admitted that we would be the first in the nation to do this. How confident are we of the city's legal standing to levy that tax?
Who exactly feels confident that we're able to implement this? Let me not assume anything.
The Department of Law. The city's budget director facing questions about the legality of the tax during a city council hearing Tuesday.
In our discussions with the Department of Law, they feel that we have a strong case that through our amusement tax, this is a tax that the city can levy on social media companies.
But other legal experts see it differently.
And on its face, frankly, it's unconstitutional.
Amy Boss is vice president of government affairs at the trade association NetChoice, whose members include social media companies like Meta and Snap. She says a 1983 Supreme Court decision backs her up.
The court ruled that you cannot single out media for special tax treatment, and this is what Chicago is doing here, right? The city can tax businesses broadly, but the moment they pick out specific media companies, it becomes constitutionally suspect. They're going to have to find this money from somewhere else because it simply won't survive the inevitable legal challenge.
They want money from everywhere. They want to actually charge social media companies 50 cents a user a month. This is what Brandon Johnson and these Democrats. Jen Psaki is out there attacking J.D. Vance and his wife. If we have time, we'll get to that today. If not, we'll hold it till tomorrow. James Golden.
Rush. This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush. Now, here's James Golden.
I'm comforted by the fact that we don't have to listen to all of it to get to what is disturbing people. Jen Psaki.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else. Yeah. I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
Yeah. And ambitious.
And ambitious. And agile in the sense that he is a chameleon who makes himself into whatever
it's the
he
usual
thinks the
Democrat claptrap there. What upset a lot of people is this attack on his wife. Oh, it makes me wonder what's going on with him. Come over here, we'll save you. It's just so disgusting and so vile. The way that they treat this, and this is not uncommon with Jen Psaki. This is a lot of liberals. It is just unseemly. And if, I tell you, if Republican or conservative commentators ever went after Democrat Party wives the way that these people do, well, people say, well, you Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama was inserting herself in the news. J.D. Vance's wife does not. Born on this day today, Eddie Brigatti, who is the singer-songwriter, co-lead vocalist with the Rascals. And so we've chosen the Rascals to leave you with today. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me, my friends, to be with you. God willing, back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.